First one will tell you that's the way you want it to go and. He wants to go quick and doing what he loves. I'm like, oh, so if I back over you with the tractor, it's exactly the way you want to go. Let me fulfill your dream. Either that or you want to go, you told his friend, because either that or I want to go in my sleep. The day thing, you just can't do that.
If anybody needs a laptop, let me know. Well, there's one left over there.
This one is fun. It looks like.
Might want to put your name on it.
I know.
It's just to get added to the agenda, like, it's got to the bottom of the county story.
Oh.
And then it'll be in the minutes. If you please.
I didn't do this one.
I'm telling you right now. No, we didn't answer a criminal. Good job. The computer's got your name on it.
You know what?
Plead the fifth.
Oh, you're gonna say that.
What? I don't know technology.
Yeah, because
It's so absurd.
And Mr. Jacoby will not be.
I know, I haven't been it out. Somebody. Those are attachments. I know.
Okay, we have a quorum, it's 9:05, bringing the meeting for resources to order. First on the agenda, we have the FYI, changes to time and location for the December meeting from December 27th to December 20th at 9 AM due to the holiday recess. Next up, Rhonda is not in the room.
No, we can do her stuff. It's every year. So
Yeah, but both of them are simply the FYIs, across from the main office. 25 East Main Street, Suite 200 Rochester for rental space in the county clerk's office. For the amount of $2,000. 20 January 1st. 2023 to December 31st, 2023. And Stewart Title Insurance Company, Pearl Street for rental space in the county clerk's office for $3,000 annually for the same. Nothing to report on the DMV. It was Hankin.
well, maybe, but we can do theirs without them too.
Jim's employed.
We have, first thing is election inspection expenses apportioned. This is the cost for the 2022 election based on enrolled voters within each township. See, who's the highest here? Arcade. And Genesee Falls with only 302 is the minimum. This is attached digital, is it? It's attached in digital, you can look at it on your own leisure. Let's see, number 2
We need
and 3.
but go to 1, we need a resolution.
Okay. Can I get a motion on resolution approval
I'll make it.
on. Ms. McCormick, made a motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Reappointment, we do have, those of us that are on the Republican committee, have been noticed from our parliamentarian that it needs.
Well, let me correct you here. Here's what the deal is. You can make this motion today pending the nomination of the county Republican committee this evening.
But isn't that messy? And shouldn't we have done this before? I mean, what if we go to the meeting tonight and he's not appointed?
The election law, this is pending, so you can still pull it on the floor.
Right, it just seems like messy.
You've got, the election law speaks to that certification needs to be into the county 30 days prior to them taking office on January 1. So this is like your last opportunity to really do that and meet that timeline. So if he does not get tonight's nomination, what happens is this resolution will just get pulled on the floor.
It just seems messy. I mean, there's no reason we're not, this is nobody new. This should have been done months ago. I'm very disappointed in the fact that we can't get our crap together and we're the largest Republican county in the state. It just seems insane. We're too lax.
I had thought that, when I saw, Stu Aldinger's email referencing this appointment and the fact that we did have to have a Republican committee approved prior to approving it here, that, we could have done it next, well, no, we could have done it next week prior to our board meeting in a special HR meeting. That's what I did. Yeah, we would have just had either in the committee of the whole, or we would have had a special. But that's the problem. We don't have, then we're inside the 30-day window and I didn't realize that.
So
So
why did the committee not do it before tonight? I don't understand.
Because we did not have a notice or a letter of interest. Anyone.
Well, that's very disappointing to me. If he enjoys his job and we're reappointing him, it seems like we would have gotten notice. This last election cycle was not. I received calls at my other employer about the Warsaw location by 4 different individuals. One was the election coordinator. Is that what you call the person in charge of the coordinator? Took somebody's ballot. If the machine didn't read it, she took his ballot and made a comment that he didn't fill in his vote for Zeldin dark enough. I mean, there's just,
Yes,
I understand we're a small town, but there's certain things that need to be adhered to, especially, and this is probably a soapbox moment, but the Republican Party is super quick to tell the Democrats that they're doing some illegal things when it comes to election, but yet we're the largest Republican county in the state and we don't hold to our standard. We should be the example to everybody. So it was very disappointing. And when that was brought up to Schlick, his comment was basically, I don't know what you want me to do about that. What I want you to do is do your job.
I believe he has had discussion with the individuals that were involved.
But it'll just happen again because this individual's been talked to for several election cycles. And there's certain restrictions or regulations. I know in Arcade, when I work Arcade, they're very good at it. You always have one commissioner sort of, or one coordinator sort of takes the lead as being the person that's kind of doing the paperwork. And the other party's coordinator is there to assist and do their thing. There's always two. I know in other polling spots across the county, there's not always equal representation, and that is election law. There has to be 1-for-1, that there has to be equal representation, and it's not happening. I'll take the heat that I'm sure it's because people aren't volunteering, but again, I think that whole thing needs to be looked at. And you know, Jim's great. He's a great guy. I don't have any issues with appointing Mr. Schlick. I just wish that there was some more oversight. I don't know whose responsibility that is, but every election we get calls. And it's disappointing to me being the largest and the most Republican county here when the Republican Party is saying there's election fraud, and yet we don't do everything we can to make sure we're above board. This needs to be not so lax, in my opinion. And the fact that he didn't send in a letter before now, so now that we are under the ball and we're behind the game, just is disappointing, in my opinion. And now I'll step off. Thank you.
The comments are appreciated. At the same point, water on the bridge and this is how.
Absolutely, we have to move forward and hopefully tonight's meeting goes according to expectations.
Yes, sir.
I agree with Vanessa, but on the other hand, it's a Democratic commissioner as well.
Right, did they do their,
Representation by the Democrats. It's not Flick's fault.
oh, absolutely, absolutely. I
I mean, Hank is there, he's the Democrat rep, he should make sure that.
well, and I'm there, and I'm not disparaging anybody, but I don't understand on their point, his new deputy commissioner wasn't even a registered voter when she took the position. I mean, there's just certain things that we need to, that office seems to be, I know we need to be careful as elected officials, how we interact with that office, but I think they need to step their game up, in my opinion.
There's another point that I make is, I've been here a long time. 27 years ago, this was very dysfunctional. Big release. And it's come a long way since then. And one of the reasons for that is that Schlick has served as a supervisor. He understands the process. He understands budget. He's a money guy. And he gets along pretty well, I guess, with the employees. So,
Oh, I think he gets along well with everybody. He's got the right personality.
you know, this election thing was created by Congress.
Yeah.
You know, Tom Reynolds came to a meeting here years ago when he was a congressman. And it was the advent of the electronic voting. He said, I just don't know what was wrong with the old, machine.
Everybody said that. We go back.
But you voted. Or you voted
Right,
to change it.
right.
And here we are. How many times did we ever have a problem anywhere over the years with the old machines? Never. But now here we are. And it's electronic. We should just stuck our head in the door. There's no volume. We got no date operation here.
And it's not muted, so, yeah.
So, now you're trusting the most hallowed valued process in our democracy
Right,
to electronics.
right.
That 95% of the people don't understand how it works. So there's going to be glitches no matter what.
Absolutely. I just think that's what my point was too, if there's certain things that we can avoid ahead of time, similar to this, I understand he's assuming that it's just a formality and it is, it's just disappointing.
Which sounds like a thing in arcade that you were talking about. Some people just don't have the decorum.
That was Warsaw, not Arcade. No, I don't want to disparage Arcade. Supervisor Berwinger, it was, I've worked in Arcade as an election inspector and it works very well.
That's our actually work.
Yeah, I was. It works very smoothly there. It's a very, their coordinators are at top of the game. The same people, it's like everywhere, the same people sit at the table, do the same thing, and it was impressive, so.
And some days
The hardest,
you're glad that they showed up.
right, because the hardest part is that's like a 5:30 to 9:30 day, and it is, and I think that, Jim and I had that conversation, if they could split the day up, but they don't have the volunteers to do that, and it just,
I don't even think they can split the day up.
I'm thinking, they can, but you can't,
They're not in the big way.
right,
Solid computer break, I probably think about each break as well.
but they,
But they have the staff.
right, they have the people that can do that, like, you could swap them out or whatever, it's tough. And the problem is the people that do it tend to be our older citizens who, that's a really long day. And then you get into, I gotta take my medicine, and then I gotta eat, and, or you get people like my mom doing it, who gabs with absolutely everybody about everything under the sun, and the line backs up, so, But, anyway.
I remember one of our meetings, zoning issue. And the zoning officer says, I'd like to make a comment. And I kind of said with tact. And as I said, with tact, he goes, he's a goddamn liar. It didn't matter what you said, something, so.
It's just, you know. And
Okay,
I will, do we need a motion? Now that I'm the one that made the biggest think about it, I will make a motion.
Made motion, all in favor,
Is that for both?
I'll be happy to do both.
for both, and that's,
And that's,
sending the outcome from, are the Democrats doing their?
So I understand the Democrats have had their meeting, I just don't have their certification.
Someone getting. Democrat, sure. Or
Who's the
the
chair?
chairman of the,
Cindy.
Yeah,
John,
I'll get a hold.
okay, thank you. All in favor?
I,
Carry. Ms. Wilkinson. How are you?
how are you?
For one, it's an appropriation for assigned council to cover retroactive payroll that is covered by the HH fleet. Number two is an appropriation, more and more vouchers have rolled in, so I came a few months ago and got an appropriation for more funds. Still more came in, and so I need some more money to pay those vouchers that are rolling in. Number three is an appropriation with the funds to cover that we gave Brian Denton those extra duties for resource recovery. And there should be some money left on one of my budget lines to cover that, but I was told to list it as any funds available. And I do what I'm told. Number four is appropriation, because we did not budget that we charged at Nelson Mill when we look at the Westlaw cost. That money that comes in from the law firm has to be added in. So that's a plus to our budget funds. And number five is Mark Dad's contract. Number six, I will have to do an executive session. I have a couple. Attorney-client sessions.
Okay, any questions on 1 through 5?
Number two. You got big man, is there gonna be money going back to the state on this?
Not that I'm aware of this time. They have not raised the rate yet here, so we're still paying at the, lower rate. And so, but, I know there's a discussion being had, all the teams just getting the rest of care at this point.
Can I get a motion for 1 through 5? Motion made by Ms. Frank, all in favor?
I,
Carry.
Wait for the year.
Okay. Okay, we'll do that all at the same time as I know Mr. Department has executive session.
Thank you.
Cindy.
Morning.
good morning, Brittany.
Okay, a couple of housekeeping things about the markers. I originally done contracts for them, but then turned out that they weren't being paid for by my office or anything like that. I was providing the information and nominating the sites to the Women's National, it wasn't National Votes for Women Trail, but there was a designated group that was funding it through the state. So they paid for the marker. I just had a nominee, so I really didn't need to do the contract. That wasn't clear at first when I first said, yeah, I got people I can do. So this is just me telling you. Yeah, I didn't need to do that. Like, we're done, we didn't get the funding, it was not directed.
No, not directly to us, it was through them.
Yeah.
So they did all that and sent me the signs, and I like it that way.
I wish I could do that all the time, right? So that's that.
Okay.
So the other thing would be interesting story about the 18 years ago again. Interesting story, this one. So as you know, 2 years ago, the state had approached me about doing the reprint, and I said, well, yeah, because there's none anywhere. I mean, go on eBay, you gotta pay $150 for, you know, like a used copy, because they reprinted in 1976. Publisher in Oakland, New York. And then our office did a reprint from Heart of the Lake in like 91. So, but other than that, you can't get it. So like, I think it was like mid-October, beginning of October. On a day I was off, someone called the office and talked to Sally and said, I have some historical Wyomings if you want them. And we always take them when people call because we have some avid collectors, so, you know, we use them to sell to, the people who collect. We want to, yeah, okay, so I'll call them back. And we're talking, and I go, you're talking about historical Wyoming, yes, and you're talking about the Beers history book? And she said, yes, and I go, well, how come your husband had so many? She goes, we're in Oakland, New York. I go, you mean you're the printer who printed the first reprint? And she said, yes, and her husband, he was the printer since the 40s, died like 10 years ago, and she was cleaning out stuff in her house. And she goes, do you want these? You know, she goes, you could sell them through your office. And I go, well, yeah. I said, do I, you know, what's the recoup, like thinking like I have to, she goes, no, it's a donation, and this way you can, you know, get stuff you can get under one. So it turns out her husband had started with a few counties, like our county. And then every county wanted them. So there were other counties that were called because there were cases of pristine, like 50-year-old Beers books. And then you got like over 100.
Wow.
Yes. So I'm thinking when I got them, they're going to be in bad condition. They were still in the cases. The cases smelled a little musty, but really not bad. And the books were okay. So we put them through the desmelling process that we do. So, and these are bound, we're bound by them too. And they're like, they smell like paper. They're like they're brand new. They're brand new, 50-year-old brand new books. And so my husband and I, like, drove out to Oakland, New York, and got them. And along with it, they had printed an index to go with it. So we have little indexes. And my mother was a printer, and previous jobs I worked for 3 different printing companies. So when I went there, I went in the room, I was like in heaven. There was just like it smelled like ink and printing stuff all over. So yeah, I ended up buying one of the dresses. So when I retire, I can have some fun printing again. So I type it in my attic. So beautiful books. I mean, the fact that they put them together there, we have this kind of binding paper still is just phenomenal. So I'm really excited about that. So they will be available. I figured $50 because that's about what they charged back then, but they're in beautiful shape. Yes, the brand new one is $19, but honestly, I prefer the original look rather than. I'd like to reprint that just came out, you know, because obviously I did the introduction. Of course, I like it, but yeah, it wasn't quite the look I liked. So I like these much better. So these will be available in the office, and I'll probably put it in the paper so people can get them for Christmas gifts and stuff. So that it's like a major coup. They have like 8 cases. Yeah, so about 100. Yeah, very awesome. It's like Why did we do a reprint in 91? They didn't even know that there were still books.
Can you leave a sample here so that the supervisors can look at it and then?
Well, I was gonna give you each one for Christmas.
Hey,
I'm just saying, you'll have to be a little packages. I just want to make sure I need some of them first. You know, most of them are fine, but a couple boxes. Yeah, quite exciting, quite exciting. Yeah, and it's so funny, it's like, oh, yeah. So you guys in case, something like that.
is
We, eBay too, and Amazon, another one that was just put out, so. Get a good exposure, but if you look up one of these on the internet. Yeah, the used ones are gonna be chunk of change, so I see these like go really well.
there, Cindy, is there material in there that you would not be able to find online?
Well, pretty much, because if you go online, you can download a PDF of this book. But the images in it are horrible because they're made from, full copies. These were like printed, are really nice.
And you've got to kind of be an old book freak to really appreciate that.
I was like, oh. And here I was thinking, how do I get these brand new ones in my office to make it affordable to get them in order to sell them? And here we got all these, like, really super excited about that. I'll still offer a couple of the other ones because people have asked, but this is like, no investment, and it was a really nice donation. She was very nice woman, so. Yeah. She said she figured she'd help out the historians in the different counties by donating your books for them. Yeah, super nice, because she's selling her house and moving. So I guess her house had been a printing place since like the early 1900s. And when they bought the property, her husband was already a attorney, but that was his, he'd been printing since the 40s. They had reinforced with floors or, 12 by 12 stuff. All the way to the front and stuff.
Cindy, before you leave, would you mind stopping out front because I have the original minutes book from 1841 of the county sitting out front because we were gonna measure it.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And if any of the supervisors, speaking of old books.
Yeah, I'll check with you.
It's the original minutes book from when the county was established and then throughout so many years, but it's got all that old.
Script.
That's a calligraphy.
Beautiful, and it's Chapner, so it needs to be in a case, but
Right,
I didn't want to talk to the cell box and records. We don't have it.
right.
No, we're not.
So it's either gonna live here or not, or it's gonna go to county storage office.
I mean, it would be nice to put it on a display as long as it isn't like by a window. You know what I mean? But there are special cases for that where it's special plexiglass that doesn't emit any chemical that, you can't see, but it's there kind of thing. So, yeah.
I thought we looked good.
Yeah, it's, because if anything happens to it, yeah, that's, I mean, I had it on microfilm, but
And I can't keep it out there for very long because I don't want people really touching it and stuff.
oh, no.
So we're gonna have to do something with it, so, yeah. Or I gotta send it down to Gail, so it's environmentally.
Right. So now, leave this to repeat the peruse. So you have one here, but I'll make sure everybody gets the really they're not bad, there's hardly any musty smell, it's more like, it's almost like the old paper smell. Yeah.
Cindy, are you aware if the libraries in the county have copies of that?
I think most of them do, but I can find out.
Sure. I mean, well, the reason I say that in the book that I purchased, the SUNY Press
Yeah.
History of Wyoming County, we donated to the library
Oh, nice.
in Wyoming, and they didn't have a copy of that.
Oh, okay, so I can check and make sure they get one.
So I don't know if the other libraries in the county have copies of this book or not.
Maybe not.
But you wanted to have it
Yes, maybe not.
be available to people,
Mhm.
you know,
Kind of like historical Wyoming, we send those free to every library
right,
and every school library.
right.
Yeah.
Someone is doing,
Something, and when her, me to say, here's a look.
Sure.
Make
exactly,
sure they have. So-
yeah,
And it's a little easier to maneuver when you're reading, and like if somebody wanted to copy something, that would be hard to
right,
copy the page. While it's
Very
a little
yeah.
easier.
I don't know, I'll look at the content of this one too,
This is like an exact reproduction of the original,
okay?
including all the images, so.
And the last printing of that was 1970,
This is the 1976 edition, it's the first reprint.
okay,
And there was another one done in the 1990s, 1991, which was okay, but wasn't as nice as this. Like I have probably 7 of the originals from 1880 in my office in varying stages of condition. But I only have one of these in the office, one. So, yeah, it's nice to. It's nice to have, so I put a new one on the shelf too.
okay.
So probably some on the records keep. Okay, any questions for me this morning?
There's one more thing too,
Oh,
Brian,
is there?
that I need that back, but she can. It's only in minutes.
Oh, yeah, the Perry Village Hall, right? Did you send me a copy of this already?
I don't think so, because I had to go into the files yesterday.
Oh, okay, could you know?
Yeah, oh yeah, it'll be in minutes,
Oh, okay, good.
yes.
So it's the fact that the Perry Village Hall is now on the state and national register, so that's all it's good. Still working on Pioneer Grounds. It takes me a little bit because I gotta do it in between everything else. And when they went from the cabin and said, do the whole grounds, that involves a little research on the land aspect of it, of the original owners and stuff. And we're, that one's taking a little bit longer.
I'm just gonna bring these to committee so that you're aware of them.
Yes, and then I have a file, so when someone asks me is something on, and I open my file and can tell them, yes, it's done, and you know, no, you need to work on it. Cool, so. Thank you. Any other questions from you? Okey doke. You'll get your questions at the next meeting.
Inspiration.
Yeah, you should.
My grandfather was the last trustee of the schoolhouse at Perry Road in 77. And all the stuff is in my attic. including- I got rolled down maps dated 1930.
Those are pretty cool.
Old schoolhouse maps, yeah.
We did also get in, when Dory passed,
1930.
Started clearing out her house. There, then she had, and Bristol and stuff. And, so that all recently came to her office. So you're-
Whatever you want to look at it.
Like, I think we have instead, we should go to Middlebury and copying, and like, I'll keep the copy, send the original to your historical society, or vice versa, depending on, you know.
Sure.
But, you know, once I got boxes on my floor, dug like 5, I'm like, oh, okay, I got some stuff. And then there was some original burial permits. So we put them in the sleeves and index them, so Doug has a copy of all that, so we're like, yeah. It's fun stuff over there. Good news stuff.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Berg.
Morning.
I have a couple of just quick minor items that we had. Just by way of information, the committee bargaining the successor jail contract continues to meet. We had 2 sessions, then we were delayed because of an untimely death of the president's wife. I think everybody knows about that. If you did, John Adrian was the president of the bargaining unit. His wife passed away unexpectedly about 2 weeks ago. So we are in the process of rescheduling dates. So I really don't have any update for you other than that. There's really no substantive issues in bargaining. Really the biggest thing is what wage increases are being done. I have a reminder for you that town surveys are due last month. So please get them in if they have not already done so. Several email reminders have been sent out. And lastly, I would remind you again that your New York State required sexual harassment prevention training is not online. And each of you have received email instructions and have signed in and get that done. If you have not already done so, please do so. It has to be completed by the end of the year to comply with New York State regulations. So I appreciate your assistance in that. Thank you. In your packet, you'll find the service report and update for November. Really no outstanding issues that I would draw your attention to. This is normal business. Any questions? Okay. Mr. Becker, may I ask for an executive session?
For.
Any personal matter?
No, employment history of a particular employee. There's no such a thing as personal.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Made by Mr. Cal. Second by Mr. Grant, all in favor?
Aye.
Carries.
Right.
Right, Ryan? We have a word this.
Business, we have a attorney privilege with the county attorney.
I think